Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey, I am a knitwear designer from the southwest of France, and this is a podcast where I talk about all of my yarny creations. Hi, thank you so much for joining me for this new episode. I hope you're doing very well. You may be hearing, had COVID. It caught on to me finally last week. I am much better, but it did quite damage my throat and my voice, so I'm sorry if it's left, and you may notice that I have a bit of a weird voice, that I get out of breath easily, and that my brain is mushy. In the last podcast my brain was mushy because of heatwave, and now it's mushy because of the sickness. So yeah, yay. I still wanted to make a little episode for you because I do have two projects that I very much like and wanted to present to you, so I hope this will be alright anyway and you can bear with me. But yeah, this might be a little bit short and sweet, I hope. I say that and I still manage to ramble in the French podcast, which means that I now have even less voice. So I'm gonna do my best for you guys. Not guys, I don't want to say guys. People. Oh, that's a very specific meme. So if you know why I'm saying people, I guess you like weird videos on the internet like I do. Already on a tangent. But yes, I'm going to start. If you want, you can find timestamps for all the different sections of the podcast in the description down below. So if you want to skip anything, look into a project in particular, you can find that. I also put links for everything that I talk about, the yarns and the patterns I will be mentioning, as well as my social media, my patterns, which are for sale on various platforms, as well as my Patreon page if you would like to support my business and have access to some behind the scenes content. That's done. I have a new pattern that I just released on Ravelry, Payhip and Lovecraft, etc. This is the t-shirt that I'm wearing, and so it's going to be a bit difficult to show. I think the light makes it kind of worse. Actually, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, I also have light issues. I have voice issues, I have light issues, everything is bad. So yeah. This is the Oread top, which is a loose-fitted t-shirt, as you can see, drop shoulder with a texture panel, which is going to be a bit difficult to show in this light, featuring twisted stitches. And you see, the only thing that you can see is that I'm wearing a white bra underneath, so that I don't think that's really useful to you, to be honest. But there you go. You have this texture motif, which is on the sides and also on the back. Trying to move around in a very restricted area. Yay! This color is an absolute nightmare to photograph and film, but yeah. So, this is a very simple construction, as I usually like to do. You start with the back shoulders, basically, and in the pattern you have quite a few modifications integrated. So, the first one being short rows on the shoulders. So, I didn't put short rows on my shoulders for couple of reasons. The main one being it's linen, and I don't like short rows in linen. I think it shows really badly, and I don't really need it when it's such a drapey fabric and such an oversized tee. As you can see, it just sort of does this on its own. I don't have the body type that tends to ride up and make that fold here. I don't have it when it's that loose and that drapey. So I chose not to have short row here. But if you need short rows, or if you're using a smoother yarn, They are included in the pattern. Basically, it's an option that you can choose to do, and basically you will work into this motif here, which you can see is just twisted stitches and purl stitch, and you will just make some short rows to create a nice curve, which will kind of drop the front neck as well. So that's the first thing that you can choose to do or not, depending on your preference, and then you can continue. And second thing you can choose to do is either knit the pattern flat or knit it in the round. If you knit it flat, you just go all the way down with the hem, then you pick up the stitches for the fronts and the shoulders, and you go down this way. You can also change the depth of the neckline. So this is something that I really like about this simple neckline shape, is that it's a scoop neck. So basically you knit straight for a little bit here, and you can just try it on, you know, you can just pass it over your shoulders and you just see, well, how long do I want it before I want it to start to curve? And you just take into account the little bit of ribbing that you will do at the end, and you can just lower it however you like, and then you go all the way down again with the ribbing, and then you make a seam at the side. The pattern includes the tutorial link to the mattress stitch, which is the seam I like to use, and you had slipped stitch edges here, which make it really easy. And this is the type of seam that is good for non-seam gifted people, which I am one of. Basically, I'm not really good at seaming, but I don't mind seaming in a straight line with slip stitches at the edges. And so that is what I do, and it makes it super easy. But if you don't like that, you can just knit the back until the armholes, place the stitches on hold, knit the front until the armholes, and join everything and knit in the round. And then you pick up the stitches around the armholes and the neckline to make the little twisted ribbing. Why would you choose either option? Basically, I prefer to knit most of my summer garments flat for a couple of reasons. The first one being that because this is linen, I really wanted to avoid the bias twist. So I've mentioned this before. Some yarns, when they have a lot of twist in them, which is the case for most plant fibers because they need a lot of twist to hold together. If you knit them in the round, they tend to go on the bias, which means that your top will just do this and it's a bit unpleasant. And so I really want to avoid this, which you can do by knitting flat. The second one is this is a very oversized tee for me, as you can see. And it's very loose and drapey, and so adding a seam adds just a little bit of structure, and it reassures me that this is going to hold its shape a little bit longer, basically. And yeah, so if you don't have those concerns, and if you really want to knit it in the round, you can knit it in the round. It's just as easy, and it is also written out fully in the pattern in the round. So these are all the little options. You can see simple constructions just with lots of little modifications that one can do. You can also very easily choose less ease than I do. I like my things to be loose, and if you don't, you can easily choose a size down. And if you do this, you can also easily change the armhole depth. Like I like a loose armhole because I have quite nice upper arms, and I don't like to be tight here. But if you don't mind, or if you have a different body shape and you really need it to be smaller, if you make it smaller width-wise, I recommend that you also make a narrower armhole depth. You can easily do this however you like. You just measure a garment that you already have, and you just knit until the measurements that you want. You don't need to follow the ones in the pattern. So easy to customize and pretty easy to knit as well. The texture is not complicated, so I've already talked about twisted stitches. Basically, this is just a mix of twisting one stitch over the other. This one here is 2 stitches over the other. This one is a little bit more special, but they're simple twisted stitches, and because they're in lines, you can see it's very easy to spot if you've done a mistake, basically. If you haven't done a cross where you should have, or vice versa, or if you've gone the wrong way, you will easily see it. The instructions are both charted and written as well, because I wanted to make it a little bit easier, especially considering that you have to work on the wrong side, at least for the upper body. Now, what do I mean by work on the wrong side? You do not have to do any crossings, any twisted stitches on the wrong side, any right twist or left twist, that is. But you do need to be able to see if the stitch that you are about to work is a purl or is a twist stitch, and work accordingly. And I know that can be difficult for some knitters to read your knitting, and if you can't do this when you're on the wrong side, then sometimes the chart is a little bit difficult to follow in that direction as well. So this is why there are written instructions for you. And yeah, if you're someone who struggles with working wrong sides of texture, even if it's, again, it's just a matter of knitting and purl through the back loop. Yeah, that's all you have to do. You just have to be able to see which stitch you're on. And I know that's not really easy for everyone, like we all work differently and we all have different experience with that. And so if that's you, first I recommend that you knit the body in the round. This way you will only have to deal with this here, and you have the written instructions in case that happens. And yeah, so this is knitted using Antigone from the Rerum Natura, which is their linen sportwear. It's pure linen, and I really liked it. Basically, when I knitted my Ninon cardigan last year, I really wanted to make another summer garment with this linen because I really like it. It's super drapey. It has a really good stitch definition. Again, I'm sorry because the light and everything, and it's very difficult to show. But hopefully you can see with the pattern pictures as well that I managed to do something decent. I spent a lot of time trying to edit the pictures so that they would show the proper color of the yarn, even if it means that the rest of the photograph, my skin and the background, look weird. But the color is so beautiful. That's the thing with Antigone from the Rerum Natura. They have the most gorgeous, vibrant colors. And this is the colorway Mordoré, which is gold. Like, it's really golden and it shines and it's beautiful. And I really like it. It's a lovely linen that drapes pretty well. And yes, I sort of managed to get it, but yeah. And this will work with any fingering to sport weight yarn, and basically if you use plant fibers you will get this sort of flat look, which is why I chose this twisted stitches motif, because they look really good in flat yarns, because plant fibers don't tend to stand out so much in cables. And they will also look very good in more bouncy yarns. So if you use a typical wool merino BFL, it will look a little bit more sharp and it will be really nice. I recommend that you pick something that has a little bit of drape, but you know, you can play around. And yeah, I think I said everything. Did I forget something? I don't know. So I hope you like it. So this design is, I don't remember if I said the name. It's called Oread, which is, I don't quite know how to pronounce it in English. It's a mountain nymph, basically. You know, wood nymphs, water nymphs, and mountain nymphs. And I thought that was really fitting for the yarn and the look of the twisted stitches, which are very mountainy, and or, meaning gold in French. I thought that Oread sounded funny. That's it. The naming conventions of Yarnflakes. But yeah, I think that's about it. I haven't showed you really how the back neck stands. It's like this. And yes, that's how it is. So like I said, I used I chose a size which gave me a lot of... I'm doing this so that you don't see my bra. You can see my struggle with the with the light. And yeah, so you can choose less ease as well. Like I said, I just really like, as usual, having a very basic construction which you can do whatever you like with it, because I don't like to decide instead of people what they should wear or how they like to wear it. So I just really like when people make their own adjustments and modifications. Some of my testers made a more fitted version and it looks really sweet as well. And yeah, that's it for this design, which I hope you will enjoy. And if you do like it, there is 15% off on Ravelry with it, with the code Oread. So that's it. It will work until Sunday. That's it for this pattern release. And I also wanted to chat with you about a new project that I've been knitting on. That's it, no more bra showing. I have been contacted by my friend Anna from, that was very French, from La Tricot, which is, and as a consequence now I try to pronounce French things with English accents, from La Tricot, who has a yarn shop in Grenoble in France. And she recently partnered with a Spanish brand, Wool Dreamers, which are a brand that they have a lot of a really nice range, a lot of different yarns from Spanish breeds, including this, which is Manchelope. And basically it's one of those unspun yarns, which you've probably seen everywhere, except this is the Spanish Merino version. Spanish Merino being a bit of a obvious statement, but not really. Basically, yeah, this is unspun yarn, but from their own merino breeds, which means that, one, it's super soft. Like most of the unspuns I've had so far, Nutiden and Plotulopi, that is, all of them that I've had, they tend to be more rustic breeds, which is amazing. But if you're someone who is a bit more sensitive, then this one is really soft. Like, you can really just put it close to your neck. It's lovely. And the other thing about this one is that it already comes doubled. As you can see, it's already wound up with 2 threads. So, because the thing with unspun yarn like this, you usually don't want to hold just one thread like this. You hold it double, triple, whatever, or you hold one with something else, like a lace weight mohair, for example. I've seen some people do this. And these ones already come double, which I really appreciate, because that way, if you want to hold it like this, it makes it much easier. Obviously, if you planned to use only one strand with something else, then that's a problem. But I wanted to hold it double, so that's great for me. And I am really liking this. So I have a project in Nutiden, which you may wonder where it's at. I've started a sweater in Nutiden, and it's not finished yet. I will resume it in the colder month. I'm knitting it with a friend of mine as a knit along, just the 2 of us, and we paused it for the summer and we will resume it later. But this was my first time trying Nutiden, and I enjoyed it, but I do have some qualms with it. I'm not as amazed by it. No, that sounds bad. It is lovely and it's really unique, but I don't think it's necessarily for me. And yeah, I just know that so many people, when they try Nutiden for the first time, they are so in love with it and they just knit that for like the next 15 years. For me, not really. I do like it, but I have some problems with it. It does break. Like, I don't mean pulling from the... You should never pull an unspun yarn like this you have to be careful, wound it manually, etc. But for me, it breaks as I'm knitting it, like, and I'm trying to be really gentle, but the thing is, if I'm really gentle, then the fabric is really loose, and I don't like it. And it's quite often with the Nutiden that I will find that I'm knitting it, and I'm noticing that it just stretched until it's like no more. And I have to rip back a few stitches to then put the yarn back together, etc. And that annoys me a little bit. So I'm not that in love with the fabric. So when I tried this, I was like, okay, let's see if this different fiber and the fact that it comes already in two things makes it work better for me. And it seems to be better. I much prefer knitting with this than with Nutiden, personally. I don't have any issues of it breaking, and I'm even less precious with it. Basically, I'm not really caring, and you see, I'm just pulling it from the outside of the cake, not the inside of the cake. Pulling from the inside of the cake is great until you experience yarn barf. If that never happens to you, you're lucky. You're very lucky. And yeah, I am making a shawl because Lana et Tricot asked me if I would design something for her, and we wanted to make a shawl, a nice, simple, quick to knit, comfy shawl. And so this is what I'm doing. I actually have a sketch here. That is my idea. And this is what I started doing. So I started at the tip here, and I'm increasing to create this border, which basically is a mixture of slip stitches, which you can see also here form the outer border, some very simple cables here, and in the middle the half brioche rib thingy again. So yes, I'm the designer that I do something, I like it, and then I do it again over the next 10 designs. But yeah, basically this is just making one brioche knit stitch and one purl stitch, and this is what the border of the shawl will look like. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm just going sideways, which I really like doing for shawls because it allows me to control the depth of the shawl and the length a little bit easier, and it will also mean that you can adapt it to any amount of yarn that you have. So I'm just going basically this way. Once I had my complete border, I started incorporating here a little stockinette section, and I'm just going to keep increasing like this until I reach the depth that I want. And I've used about a third of my yarn, and then I will just stay straight for another third of my yarn, and because it will be longer, it will be shorter. And then I will use the last third of my yarn to decrease back to the opposite point. And so this is going very nicely. I've knitting this with a fever, so yay. It's simple. It's simple enough. I'm using 6mm needle, so huge stakes. And funny. Yeah, knitting, you shouldn't make a... I'm pretty sure it has been done before. Knitting with huge stakes, without stakes, something like this. I don't know. A pun is forming in my head and it's not complete yet. I will report back if it ever gets completed. But yeah, this makes a really nice fabric. I can't wait to block it because I've made a little swatch and blocked it, and it's like really, I don't have it here. I'm too tired to get up and go and get it. But yeah, so this is going really easily. I haven't done much because fever. But now it will just probably quickly become a very, very nice and cozy shawl. I really like that upper border as well. It's just garter stitch and slip stitches, basically. I really like it. And yeah, it will hold this shape a little bit better once blocked as well. But you can see what I have so far. And like I said, really pleasant to knit. I really like it. They have a bunch of natural colors as well as some pastel colors. And I had some in my stash before that I had planned for a sweater. But I'm really happy that I get to knit it a little bit earlier than I intended for this collaboration with Anna from Lana et Tricot. Again, I did it again, Lana et Tricot. But yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. I hope it wasn't too chaotic. Thank you so much for bearing me and with me. I wish you a very happy rest of your day and evening, and I hope you're having a lovely time. And I will see you in the next episode.